Welcome to the second session of our online study course on the Juche Idea, and I have prepared a short lecture which is titled The Philosophical Principle of the Juche Idea, an Overview. This section will look at the philosophical principle of the Juche Idea. In the first section, we looked at the fact that Juche is not simply about self-reliance. So that is the ice cream van outside. Of course, the Juche idea is not simply about self-reliance, but is a philosophy, a world outlook. Of course, to many, philosophy may seem a remote or an abstract concept. My son had to study philosophy at school and said he found it boring. I think many people, when they hear the word philosophy, automatically think of ivory tower intellectuals at Oxford University or Cambridge University. A lot of people view philosophy as being irrelevant and pointless and as having no relationship to everyday life. In fact, philosophy is quite fundamental. It's about the outlook on the world, about the study of knowledge. It is fundamentally about the role of man in the world. Most people have some kind of philosophy, an outlook on life, even if it is not a particularly progressive or scientific one. It can be said that philosophy became discredited in the eyes of many because of reactionary and obscurantist philosophies promoted by various exploiting classes throughout history in order to hide or mystify exploitation or to present it as being something that was ordered from on high or something that was actually eternal and could not be changed. During the Middle Ages, religious philosophers held debates about how many angels could dance on the head of a pin, while crops failed and many people starved to death. The Juche philosophy, by contrast, is centered on humans. Therefore, it is a down-to-earth philosophy, which is both rational and scientific. For many centuries, philosophy was dominated by those who asserted that the world was created by a deity or supernatural being that existed outside of both time and nature. Later, in the 19th century, the German philosopher Hegel advanced the concept of an absolute idea or spirit determining everything. The great achievement of Marx, Engels, and Lenin was they asserted the primacy of matter and shattered backward and superstitious illusions about the world. In a later talk, we will look at the relationship between Juche and Marxism-Leninism. It was Comrade Kim Jong-il in his famous thesis titled On the Juche Idea, published in March 1982 to mark the 70th birth anniversary of President Kim Il-sung. And Comrade Kim Jong-il stressed in the work the philosophical aspect of the Juche idea and developed it in depth. It can be said that Comrade Kim Jong-il established the philosophical structure of the Juche idea. I would strongly recommend reading On the Juche Idea in order to complement this lecture. In fact, On the Juche Idea is a work that should be studied by all progressives, anti-imperialists, anti-capitalists, socialists and communists, as well as serious students of philosophy. Comrade Kim Jong-il also wrote a number of other works on the philosophy of Juche, such as On Some Questions in Having an Understanding of the Juche Philosophy, On Having a Correct Viewpoint and Understanding of the Juche Philosophy, and the Juche philosophy is an original revolutionary philosophy. On the Juche Idea consists of 5 chapters, one of which is on the philosophical principles of the Juche Idea. In the work, Comrade Kim Jong-il defined the basic philosophical principle of the Juche Idea, as he wrote, "The Juche Idea is a new philosophical thought which centers on man. As the leader said, the Juche Idea is based on the philosophical principle that man is the master of everything and decides everything. The Juche Idea raised the fundamental question of philosophy by regarding man as the main factor and elucidated the philosophical principle that man is the master of everything and decides everything." That man is the master of everything means that he is the master of the world and of his own destiny. That man decides everything means he plays a decisive role in transforming the world and in shaping his destiny. The philosophical principle of the Juche Idea is the principle of man-centered philosophy, which explains man's position and role in the world. The leader made it clear that man is a social being with independence, creativity, and consciousness. End of quotation. I think this is a very well rounded definition of the philosophical essence of the Juche Idea. The attributes of independence, creativity, and consciousness are not innate, but are socially acquired. We will consider in more detail later the concepts of independence, creativity, and consciousness. These will be discussed at future sessions. For the first time in the history of philosophical thought, the concept of man being the master was put forward. Juche placed man at the center of everything. It can be said that the thinking of comrades Kim Il-sung and Kim Jong-il totally revolutionized philosophy. It is important to understand that Juche does not set man aside from the material world. Man is part of the material world, but at the same time has a definite role within the material world. As Comrade Kim Jong-il wrote, the Juche Idea uniquely defined the domination of the world by man, who is the highest developed product in the material world, as well as the principles of its transformation and progress, thus shedding a new light on the foundation of the world outlook. The world outlook based on the philosophical principle of Juche is a world outlook which centered on man. End of quotation. I think this is a very important teaching and a key to understanding the Juche philosophy. Some dogmatic opponents of Juche have tried to assert that Juche puts man as standing above the material world or even outside it. As the quote above shows, this is complete nonsense. And it's also, I think, a misunderstanding that when we say man is the master of the world, that means that we are asserting that man has some kind of mystical or magical quality. This is not true either. Man is the most highly developed form of matter. Unlike animals, man can change his environment. Animals survive by adapting themselves to the environment, whereas man changes his environment. Polar bears could never survive in the jungle, nor could lions and tigers survive in the Antarctic. Man is totally different to animals who live by biological instinct. It can be said in passing that some of the worst reactionaries try to equate man with animals and claim man is an animal. And some bourgeois philosophers and theorists have overstressed the role of the biological instinct in man. An example of this is Freud, for example, and at the extreme end, we have fascists who talk about the struggle for survival, and and sort of try to bring everything down to sort of animal like competition, of the survival of the fittest. So it's very important to grasp the difference between man and animals. Man's mastery over the material world is exemplified by the fact that man has learnt to dam rivers or divert their course, to go cultivate crops, and to harness the energy of nature, whether it is the wind, the sun, or waves. Some people may point out that some animals show some kind of skill and intelligence. For example, beavers building dams. However, beavers have done the same thing for centuries and have not progressed beyond that. Whereas man's mastery of science and technique has developed by leaps and bounds. Man has gone from building steam engines and sailing ships to building space rockets within the space of just over a century. Indeed, the pace of scientific development is accelerating, which shows that man's role as the master of the world is increasing all the time. The Juche philosophy is a truly scientific philosophy which correctly reflects the reality of the world. It is not determinism of any kind, and it is not existentialism. Juche is also different to the so-called human philosophy of bourgeois liberals. It's not an abstract philosophy, but a philosophy about achieving change, about achieving independence for mankind. As Comrade Kim Jong-il said in 1990, the Juche Idea, our party's outlook on the world, is the guiding idea of our times, which eliminates the absolutely correct way of achieving independence for the popular masses. It is the banner of the revolutionary people's cause of independence and the banner of socialism. End of quote. Juche is a philosophy that empowers people to be masters and to change the world. Guided by the great Juche philosophy, the Korean people have made great changes by carrying out the anti-imperialist, anti-feudal democratic revolution and the socialist revolution, and building a powerful new socialist country of Juche, where the masses are masters of everything. Thus concludes my short talk on the philosophical principle of the Juche Idea and overview. And I would like to raise the following questions for next time. Number one, what do you understand about philosophy? Number two, how would you argue with someone who says philosophy has no relevance to anything? Number three, how is man different from animals? Number four, what is the contribution of Juche to philosophical thought? And at the next session, we will be talking about the concept of independence. Thank you for listening.